Vande Matram, sir. I am Jaya Tiwari from grade 9th, Navsrijan. And my question is that, can perfect beings experience negative emotions like jealousy or the feeling of superiority, as in the story where the sun, moon, and Indradev and others strive to prove their greatness?
There is a possibility, like however perfect state one may be achieving, there is always a possibility of falling back to the negative state. That's one aspect. So one has to be very careful at all the times. Even yogis, munis, rishis, even though they have achieved certain states, so they still make lot of effort to remain in that state, not to allow the negative forces. That's one aspect. Sometimes these rishis and munis, they use some negative forces to achieve something. फॉर एग्जाम्पल दुर्वासा, वो तो ऋषि है, फिर हम बोलते हैं कि ये ऋषि को इतना गुस्सा कहाँ से आता है? वो तो क्रोध के लिए फेमस है ना दुर्वासा। मतलब हमारे बीच में भी कोई अगर एकदम गुस्से में आ जाता है तो हम बोलते हैं यार ये दुर्वासा जैसा बिहेव करता है ना। तो वो ऋषि होकर भी कैसे उसमें गुस्सा आता है? नहीं, वो गुस्सा जो है, क्रोध जो है, वो क्रोध को यूज कर रहे हैं कुछ अच्छा करने के लिए। तो इसीलिए जिन जिन को दुर्वासा ने कर्स दिया है, वो कर्स बाद में फिर ब्लेसिंग्स बन जाता है, क्योंकि वो फ्यूचर में देखते हैं। तो एक ये भी कारण है कि ऋषियों के हाथ में वो पावर है, बिकॉज द क्रोध इज कंप्लीटली अंडर द कंट्रोल ऑफ दैट ऋषि। You can use, they can invoke the क्रोध and then utilize that क्रोध. They have that power. ये भी है। तो हम नहीं कह सकते हैं कि ये गुस्सा आता है तो he has fallen into the lower state.
But do they remain perfect being even after falling back? Or how is it?
Falling back, like it's a journey. There is no perfect perfection. There is no perfect perfection. Even though you achieve one peak, suppose you take perfection as one peak, okay, you have gone here. So it's not the end of the journey. So there is another perfection, another peak, which is visible, higher than this peak. But to achieve that, one has to go through all the ups and downs. There is no direct flight from peak to peak.
So if there is no perfection, then what are we striving for?
Perfection.
But there is no perfection.
So perfection after perfection. You should always strive for greater perfection. So you not to be satisfied with what you have achieved. How much perfection you have achieved. So if you become satisfied, again you block the progress. There's no perfect perfection. So if that was the possibility, then somewhere we could have achieved perfection, then the story is over. But the story of creation is an uninterrupted, continued story, long story, longest story ever written. The story of creation, unending story. It goes on. हम इसे कैटेगराइज नहीं करते हैं कि ये सब परफेक्शन अचीव कर लिए, इनका अलग कम्युनिटी बना दो, ये परफेक्ट कम्युनिटी है, ये इम्परफेक्ट कम्युनिटी है, ऐसे नहीं होता है।
So the form of arts, which include poetry, are a refinement to our vital being, and they are also used to express as in form of expression. So sir, in poetry, is the intensity of the soul's aspiration already present, or we have to make a conscious effort for it to be present?
One has to make a conscious effort. By default it is there, but one has to make a conscious effort to bring it, make it emerge and then bring it to the front, to lead. Otherwise we are led by our mental, psychological, vital elements. So that psychic has to come to the front to lead. Then things will be in the right sense.
Sir, I am saying that fire and water, if they said that they can remove the whole existence in a fraction of a second, why couldn't they move one grass?
Yeah, that is where, like, in front of the Supreme, you are nothing. In front of the Divine, you are nothing. That is what is meant by humility. The humility is, I am nothing in front of the Divine. If that is the sense you carry, then the Divine blessings will be there. If you say, I am greater than the Divine, there are people who say that we are greater than the Divine. Then there is the problem. Okay.
Sir, I want to ask that how do Upanishad tell us to live a better life?
So it tells in many different ways. Upanishad mantras are also a little bit difficult for you all at this age to understand, but some of the messages I will take, like say take Ishopanishad. So the first mantra itself, it says, like this is how we have to draw the messages, important messages, and then try to apply in our life. So the first mantra says that you should always carry this sense in you that the Divine is present in everything and being. You should not treat anything in the world as undivine, because it's present in everything, Ishavasyam. And not just mentally understand, but feel the presence of it, that the Divine is present. If we can do that simple thing, then life becomes beautiful. Hai na? That's one thing. The second message it gives in the same mantra itself, it says, Ma grudha kasyasvid dhanam. You should not have the sense of possession. हम लोग सब कुछ पोजेस करना चाहते हैं, अपना करना चाहते हैं, इकट्ठा करना चाहते हैं, है ना, कि ये मेरा है और भी इकट्ठा कर लो. अभी तो कुछ नहीं, पासबुक में सिर्फ करोड़ रुपया आया है, उसको 100 करोड़ बनाऊंगा, ठीक है ना, तब मैं ऐसे इसको यूटिलाइज करूंगा. देयर इज नो हार्म इन गेटिंग 100 करोड़, इट्स गुड, बट इट हैज टू बी in a dharmic way, and you should not have the greed over it, either one's own possession or anyone else's possession. The sense of possession should not be there. ये एक सेकेंड लेसन है. कैन वी अप्लाई इट इन आवर लाइफ? क्योंकि ये ग्रीड है, ये प्रॉब्लम है ना. ग्रीड प्रॉब्लम है या प्रॉब्लम नहीं है? प्रॉब्लम है. तो वो प्रॉब्लम से हमको मुक्त होना है. We need to make ourselves free from that. So if we take these simple messages from the Upanishads, and there are plenty of such messages, and not just to understand mentally, intellectually, but we try to put it into practice, then life becomes beautiful.
Sir, to be a divine, is it important to follow the divine?
It is important to follow the divine, yes. That is what is the truth. Because the divine is present, divine creates everything, lives in everything, and we all need to feel the presence of that divine in everything and being, and make divine the most important thing in our life, and transform every undivine element in us into divine by growing more and more conscious of the presence of the divine in us.
What is soul when we say the soul's aspiration?
The way it is realized and recorded in the Upanishads and various places. So there is the inmost part in every one of us, the core part of ours, the core of our consciousness. So there is a presence. And that presence, if, for example, if you want to understand the Atma, there are so many other terms you need to understand, like there is Paramatma, there is Jivatma, there is Antaratma. So the Paramatma is the supreme who becomes the Jivatma. So Jivatma is a support, without that nothing can happen. So from that there is a little portion, little spark which starts participating in the world. Jivatma doesn't participate in anything. Okay, there is a beautiful story in the Upanishad, image rather, like there are two birds, one bird is enjoying the fruit, the other bird is just witnessing. That witnessing bird is our Jivatma. The one who enjoys the fruit is our Antaratma. So that is the portion which comes to the front and then starts participating in the world. So that is what is the psychic being, and that is what is our evolving soul, a soul in evolution, right? So that soul in evolution, it works out things through the instruments, through physical, through vital, through mental. And if we do not have the refinement in all the instruments, so that soul in evolution cannot work out things properly, cannot, come to the front in its own way, in its perfect sense. Okay, that is where we need refinement. So that aspect, that psychic, has its own aspiration for coming to the front and leading towards, and from that spark to become a flame, from that entity to become that being. Okay, so that is what is our soul, which keeps aspiring. It is more connected with our heart. It is at the center of our heart. So they say the image given in the Upanishad is Angushtamatra Purusha, Madhya Atmani Tishtati. So it is not bigger than the size of a thumb. Madhya Atmani, at the center of the heart, it is there. Even Angushtamatra Purusha, Jyotiriva Adhumaka. It is a smokeless, steady flame at the center of the heart. This is how it is seen. But it's a matter of realization, experience, not a mental description.
Due to today's distractions like electronics, we can't achieve the divine will so easily. So, in what ways can we attempt to obtain that sacred will?
Every one of us, we have mastered distraction. अभी हमको क्या मास्टर करना पड़ेगा? उसका अपोजिट क्या है डिस्ट्रैक्शन का? फोकस, कॉन्सेंट्रेशन, नॉट डिस्ट्रैक्शन, कॉन्सेंट्रेशन. तो वो कॉन्सेंट्रेशन का अगर हम प्रैक्टिस करेंगे तो ये डिस्ट्रैक्शन से हमको मुक्ति मिलेगी. तो जिसके पास जितना फोकस है, जो मैंने कल बोला था ना, ग्रहण, धारणा, स्मरण, ये सामर्थ्य को बढ़ाना है हमारे अंदर, तब जाके हो सकता है. और ग्रहण धारण सामर्थ्य जिसके भीतर नहीं है, वो वही छोटी मोटी चीज़ों में वो फंसता रहेगा. ठीक है. और ज़्यादातर हम अगर इस छोटे मोटे डिस्ट्रैक्शन में रहेंगे टिक के, तो वो कंसंट्रेशन भी नहीं हो पाएगा, वो ग्रहण धारण सामर्थ्य भी नहीं आ पाएगा. तो इसलिए हमें क्या करना है? जितना ज़रूरत है अपने काम के लिए, पढ़ाई के लिए, उतना ही हम स्क्रीन टाइम रखेंगे. जितना डिस्ट्रैक्शन हमारे लिए अवेलेबल है, उससे हम जितना कम कर सकते हैं उतना अच्छा है. तब जाके वो फोकस आ सकता है.
Sri Aurobindo ji was left in a confinement. So he told us that confinement and loneliness could make you connected to the divine, or it could also make you mad. So I wanted to know that what makes you mad and what makes you connected to the divine, because both things happen in the same situation. लेकिन what is that difference? कि one person becomes mad, वो पागल हो जाता है, and one person attains divinity and he goes to another level of God.
He himself has answered that. Na? He said that I could have gone mad, but I had to control myself. I had to put lot of effort to save myself from becoming mad. वो effort देना पड़ता है, अपने को इनगैदर करना पड़ता है, अपने रेजिलियंस को बढ़ाना पड़ता है, अपने पेशेंस को बढ़ाना पड़ता है, और कंसंट्रेशन को बढ़ाना पड़ता है. कांस्टेंट कनेक्शन विद द डिवाइन. बार बार वो भगवान के बारे में उपनिषदों में जो पढ़ा, गीता में जो पढ़ा, वो बार बार उसी चीज़ को अपने मन में लाने का प्रयास किया. जब तक उन्होंने क्या बोला कि जब तक पुस्तक नहीं था तो मुझे लगता था कि क्या है, पुस्तक चाहिए, पर उन्होंने इतना श्रम किया, वो 4 दिन के भीतर अपने को ये लेवल पे पहुंचा दिया. बोले कि जब तक पुस्तक आ गया तब तक मुझे उस पुस्तक की जरूरत ही नहीं था, मैं वो लेवल पे पहुंच चुका था ऑलरेडी.
तो इंद्रिय कंट्रोल.
हाँ, तो उसमें इंद्रिय संयम है, उसमें वही तपस है, वही डिसिप्लिन है.
Sir, why do we always tend to be inclined towards doing the wrong deeds? Like yesterday we learned that we prefer the negative forces over the positive. So is there a reason that why do we become the barriers for the divine work? Why do we always prefer the negative?
That is by default. That's natural to our consciousness. We always, like we will be drawn towards the animal instincts, impulses, negative things. To, transform ourselves, bring back ourselves from that state, we need to make conscious effort to establish the divinity within us. Okay. So that part, falling into the negative side, is natural. Why it is natural? Why it is natural? Because you have to understand the whole story of creation, how it happened. Okay. So are you interested to know the story behind it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, the entire creation, how did it come? How did it become this multiplicity, this diversity? What became this diversity? What became this multiplicity is, we say that Supreme Brahman, absolute, one, alone. Okay, this is how the description. Like, know that at the source of this creation, there is this supreme consciousness which is one, without second. That's why the Upanishads say, Ekam eva advitiyam. That's one without second. So, when we talk about its swarupa, it's different, like it's what it contains within itself, is the unity of consciousness. Unity of consciousness. So, at the source is the unity, at the source is oneness, one. That one becomes many. So, what is the process of the one becoming many? That one has to force itself to fragment. Okay. So, there is also an effort on the part of the one to become many. So, from the subtlemost, it becomes the grossmost. This part is called involution. Like God becoming man, or this creation is called the part of involution. So, in that process, what happens is so much of fragmentation takes place that at the grossmost level, okay, when a gross form is created, that unity of consciousness, though it is present, but it is not there. It is almost not there. Okay. So what happens? We all have fallen into a state of division, fragmentation. Okay, Dvaita. Always we think in terms of fragmentation, duality, binaries. Okay. And if you try to suppress one binary, so more binaries are coming up. So one binary becomes privileged binary, one binary becomes the suppressed binary, and each binary giving birth to other. You know the story of Rakta Bija, no? So what happens, like a single blood falls down, so it multiplies. So the same way, we are living in such a fragmented state that it's natural to our consciousness that we will always fall into the trap of the negative forces. And what is to be done? The story of creation is in two parts. One is the Supreme becoming this diversity, the God becoming man. Now what is the responsibility of the man? To become God. So it is like paradise lost and paradise regained. So we need to, through our effort, the story of evolution is to regain that lost unity of consciousness, to gain that oneness, equanimity, ekatva, samatva. So that is what is our work. And unless and until we have established the oneness and equanimity, ekatva and samatva, till then this is very, very natural to our consciousness. So to fall into the trap of the negative forces is natural to our consciousness. So our part is to evolve and establish that unity of consciousness again. So there is the fulfillment of the life's purpose, the greater goal.
Does the divine connect with the imperfect souls?
Yes. Sri Aurobindo used a word like, I could see the divine in those deprived souls in the jail.
How can I understand the crux of Upanishad very briefly and clearly, which I can share with my parents?
So we had the preliminary session where I introduced what is Upanishad, the different parts of the Upanishads, and the main content of the Upanishad, right? So you can explain this much to your parents, then there is the whole day we are discussing about Upanishads, many questions, like they're asking questions, I'm answering those, that answer also comes from the Upanishad only, okay? So let's see at the end of the day how much clarity you have. But each point you note it down and then explain, share with your parents, this is what happened in the class of the Veda, this is what happened in the class of Upanishad, or this is what happened in the other classes on the Gita and Savitri. So take your notes and a lot of clarity you will gain. Definitely your parents will be happy to listen to you.
In this materialistic world, how do we make progress? And should we follow materialistic things or divine to make progress?
And I would like to answer your question with a shlok of Ishavasya Upanishad. The shlok is Ishavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat ten tyaktena bhunjitha ma gridha kasya svidhanam. What it means is everything in this world contains the divine. And what our work is कि हमें उनका भोग करते रहना है, ये ही हमारा कार्य है, लेकिन हमें उनसे कनेक्ट नहीं करना है. कभी भी हमें ये नहीं एहसास होना चाहिए कि वी आर कनेक्टेड टू देम फुली, लाइक आवर सोल इज कनेक्टेड टू देम. वी हैव टू कंटिन्यूसली यूज देम, दैट इज आवर वर्क. ये ईश्वर की खुशी के लिए हमें करना है, लेकिन at the same time we also have to realize that nothing is ours and everything is of God.
Very good answer, beta.
If I want to keep progressing in my life and want to strive for perfection, what you have told us in these yesterday in your sessions, so if I want to achieve it through Sri Aurobindo's teachings, so is it necessary for me to also follow the path that is guided by the mother? If I am following Sri Aurobindo, so to understand it more clearly, is it necessary for me to follow the path guided by the mother?
Yeah, like for me and for many people, this experience is that Sri Aurobindo becomes simple through the mother. So lot of clarity therefore, say for example, like Sri Aurobindo has written certain things, certain message. When she used to take class for the student, she has explained it so simply through examples, using a simple language. Then Sri Aurobindo becomes very, very clear. So that's one approach.
Sir, if I want to...
And another thing is, like Sri Aurobindo and the mother, when the mother speaks also, it is not different from Sri Aurobindo. Okay? Because it's one consciousness.
It is
okay?
more
It's the same
simplified.
consciousness. Yeah.
Sir, it is more simplified and clear.
Yes, simple and clear.
So secondly, sir, you, in the previous session, sir, you said that if you want to achieve the supreme knowledge, it is important for a female intervention.
Yeah, the divine mothers.
The divine mother's intervention should be there if I want to understand Sri Aurobindo's teachings.
See, when you say the divine mother, it can be like image, you say. But there are all higher values, the soul values, which we need to manifest. And each higher soul value is feminine in its character. Shraddha, Bhakti. So if you take all this, so we need to manifest those feminine qualities in us in order to understand that. Without that, it won't happen. So that is what is meant by the Divine Mother's intervention.
How can we define divine as a perfect being? Because we are always taught perfection is nothing and we can become a better version of ourselves.
Divine is perfect. Divine means perfection.
Sir,
another word for divine is perfection.
Anyone can become a better version of himself or herself.
So what is meant by better version? From the imperfect stage to the perfect stage, right? So better version is a perfect state. No better version is an imperfect state.
Sir,
right?
then what is the way to become a perfect being?
So first of all, we have divided the human body / the I into many beings, such as the physical, vital, mental, and the psychic. The psychic is perfect, but we are not allowing it to manifest itself through us. And if we if we allow it to manifest through us, we would be perfect. And for that, we need to make a few changes. For example, in the physical state or the physical being, we have to perfect our physical being by exercising, maintaining health, and uh, maintaining hygiene. And moreover, that's a bit easier since we maintaining the physical being is easier. And then we come up to the vital being. For the vital being is called chanchal. It's chanchal. By that I mean that it moves a lot and it's not stable. We have to calm it and give it a way of sthirita, or we have to put it in such a way that it's stable and it is under the control of the mental. Since we have a lot of mood swings, our vital being, which is responsible for our emotional being, which is also the emotional being, moves a lot. So we have to stable that. And then the mental being, we are filled with thoughts, and we need to control those thoughts by maintaining silence and by administrating those thoughts. And then this is a very vast process. We have to practice it daily, and sooner or later, by practicing it, we will be able to manifest the psychic being's will and will become perfect, but that's very hard.
Do you think that this divine made this world like a test for the real world out there, which we have to seek out for?
Okay, so what do you think about it?
I think this is a test, and after that test, we look out for the real world when we go to the light or the darkness. If we go to the darkness, we do this test again, and we have to improve our vital, mental, and physical beings.
God has made this. It is a platform where we have to start from lower to go in the divine level. So, sir, like he's saying that this normal place, this place is meant for both who are conscious and unconscious. But the conscious ones have to rise, and unconscious one have to be on that level only. So it's just a competition, not a test.
We understand the dualities of life, and through that suffering we grow and to a higher level. So by understanding that there's light in the darkness, and through that joy and suffering, through the dualities of life, we grow. That is the
Very good. Okay. So that's what the Upanishad says, avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amrutam ashnute. So through the ignorance, through whatever life offers to us, through the dualities, binaries, through the suffering normal world, we make effort and then overcome all these things, gaining different experiences, and then through the vidya we attain to the amritatva, right? Like Sri Aurobindo said, none can attain to heaven without passing through hell. So the divine is not making any competition at our level. Actually, the better word will be a collaboration, right? We collaborate with each part of our being, is collaborating with other part, each part of our consciousness is collaborating, each one of us, we are collaborating with each other, helping each other in our inner growth.
Sir, you mentioned a Brahman when you were telling us about the Upanishads. So I just had a doubt arise in my mind that is he something that has a part from all the gods, or is he displayed as God?
Which context? Brahman or Brahmana?
The Brahman in the Upanishads. The impersonal Brahman.
The impersonal Brahman. Yeah, the impersonal Brahman is the supreme. So you can't even think anything beyond that. So it is the supreme. And that is at the source of everything. That's what the Upanishad establishes. That is at the source of everything, the supreme Brahman. What is the nature of that Brahman? How to attain to it is the subject matter of the Upanishads. Okay, so that is what I said in the introductory session.
What basis were the Upanishad classified into minor and major?
Yeah, the basis was some of the ancient Upanishads, okay, more ancient the Upanishads, so they were considered the principal Upanishads. So before the arrival of many Upanishads, these Upanishads existed for a long time. That's one aspect. Because it existed for a long time before the appearance of other Upanishads, these Upanishads were commented, discussed by many acharyas. So that's one criteria to differentiate between the principal Upanishads. And then what appeared later, the minor Upanishad, which is ancient among the minor Upanishads. It's called the Muktika Upanishad. In that Muktika Upanishad, it gives a list of 130 Upanishads. So an Upanishadic text itself is putting on record another 130 Upanishads which existed during that time or before that. And those 130 Upanishads also, it divides into different types of Upanishads and then presents it to the world.
And sir, how the rishis know the nature of any Upanishads?
Through their tapas, through their realization.
And the major Upanishads worked as a landmark for the minor Upanishads.
Possible. May not. The minor Upanishad may be a completely different topic, but it shouldn't deviate from the self-knowledge, God knowledge and world knowledge. So these three have to be there. Then only it will be called Upanishad.
If a being attains a higher level of spirituality and then dies, will they carry that spiritual consciousness into their next birth, or will they start over?
Yes, it gets carried forward. It is the psychic which remembers everything good that happened. Then it chooses that kind of mind, that kind of instrument in the next birth to take forward the work through those instruments. Okay. So it knows clearly which body to take place, where, when. So the spiritually realized souls, so they know when to be born, how to be born, and then how much is achieved, and then how much needs to be done in the next birth.
The one who is fine staying in loneliness is said to be a god. Why was this said and what does it mean?
It means like the one who is in silence, well settled in silence. So then one is well settled within oneself. Then one knows, has the awareness of oneself. And the one who has the awareness of, full awareness of oneself, and one is well settled within oneself, is definitely a better version. And that better version we call is a God.
If rejection is a step towards spiritual growth, so why do we still feel sadness?
The rejection and sadness, what is the connection?
If we fail in anything, we feel that we are sad about it. So why do we feel that sadness?
And which part of our being is feeling the sadness?
I would like to answer the question by basically saying that earlier another student has told that basically the sadness is coming from the vital being because the vital being was attached to the result. So like the example she gave, so if we are going to an exam, we are not getting the marks we expected. We are feeling sad because we had expectation of the marks that I will get this marks. We were attached to the result. When we are attached, then when it doesn't happen, we feel sad. But if we went with the expectation that I have studied for 10 hours yesterday, that is the maximum I can do. I have prepared everything. And now if I get 10 marks, if I get 20 marks, it doesn't matter to me because I know I have done my best. Something else, problems were there that resulted in less marks, but I did not expect marks. I just gave my best. Then vital will not feel sad. So attachment, I think, is the main reason for sadness.
As you told, sir, there are two types of vital, lower vital and higher vital. I feel that today we are so much engrossed with the lower vital. That's why we feel that sadness. Like if I give an example, how we are attached to it. So if I ask my parents to buy a pen, a new pen, although I am having a pen, and then in the same room, someone gets a better pen than me. So when I asked my parents to bring that pen, I thought that pen will give me some happiness. That small happiness, that is small. But if someone else brings something better, then we feel sad. So that expectation, that lower expectation is giving us sadness. that is making us to be at the lower level of the vital being. That's why we are sad.
Bhaiya said that we need to get detached to the result, and in order to do that, we need to concentrate on the work, and we should not concentrate on the result. We should work because we like that work, and we work not for the result. That is known as nishkam karm. We should always try to do nishkam karm.
So, not that we like to work, but a work needs to be done. This is the sense we should carry, that this is a work which needs to be done. I should feel happy to be an instrument in carrying out or fulfilling this action. If I don't have this bhava, and then if I carry that I alone can do this work, I know how to do it, okay? And then finally, if the result is not coming, then more the egoistic sense you carry, more you become sad. So sadness results from our egoistic nature, which is always the desire-driven ego, desire-driven self, projected self, which feels sad. Okay, but there is a, what the mother says, there is a psychic sadness also. Even our antaratma also feels sad. When that's a very different kind of sadness, not the sadness that our vital feels, our emotional, sensational being feels. So there's a psychic sadness which happens to many sincere sadhaks also. So what is that psychic sadness? That we will discuss sometimes, but I will not give answer now. But carry that there is a different kind of sadness which comes straight from the soul.
I had a doubt that how does one become a Paramatma?
Not one become, one is Paramatma.
Each and every one of us.
Potentially Paramatma. So that is what, like someone asked Sri Aurobindo, are you a god? Just imagine what answer Sri Aurobindo would have given. Yes, no, or how. He said, yes, I am a god. Then he said, you are also a god. But you must know it and behave accordingly. Who can behave like a god? There should not be any pretension that I am behaving like a god. Potentially, that divine, that god, that rishi is within us. The whole effort of doing tapas, being educated, is to manifest that potential into the dynamic form, right? To manifest that perfection, that potential, bring it to the front. But essentially, we all are divine. If someone says like, are you God? Yes, we are God. I liked one, this Swami Premanandaji Maharaj, he said in one of the videos recently, he said, एक महीने के लिए ना अपने वाणी में शुद्धता ले आओ. एक महीने के लिए किसी का बुरा मत सोचो. एक महीने के लिए अखंड ब्रह्मचर्य में रहो. एक महीने के लिए जितनी शुद्धता ला सकते हो ले आओ, और एक महीने में तुम भगवान बन जाओगे. एक महीने में बन जाओगे. तो फील होगा कि ये भगवान इज मैनिफेस्टिंग थ्रू मी. क्या हम कर पाएंगे? एक मिनट के लिए हम नहीं कर पाता है. एक मिनट अगर साइलेंस बैठने के लिए हमको बोला जाता है, साइलेंस में रहने के लिए, हम नहीं कर पाता है. एक मिनट. वो बोलते हैं एक महीने में कोई देवता बन सकता है अगर ये सारे दैवी भाव को अपने अंदर वो ले आ पाएगा. तो वो इंटेंसिटी चाहिए, है ना? दैट इज व्हाट इज मेंट बाय बिहेविंग लाइक गॉड. यू मस्ट नो इट एंड बिहेव अकॉर्डिंगली.
How do the teachings of the Upanishads support inner awakening and conscious transformation in our daily life?
In many ways. The teachings of the Upanishads, in many ways, they have the potential to influence our day-to-day life and then bring that transformation. Okay? And what are those teachings? Some of this we have already discussed, and some of these things we will keep discussing in the later sessions also. But know that all these shastras like Upanishad, if it is not helping me in my awakening, if it is not helping in attaining perfection, if it is not of any use, then why do people study, spend so much of time in like knowing what is there in the Upanishad? If it is not really helping, then it's of no use. If it is really helping, then what is there, then I must know it, I must study it thoroughly to understand the teaching, apply that teaching in my life, then see whether it is helping or not. Okay, the first thing is to know. That is what is the whole purpose of having these sessions, to understand what is there. And then how do we translate that message into our day-to-day life?
People say that we are an ansh of God, and we also say that we're nothing in front of God. So isn't that we are a ansh, like equal to an ansh in front of God?
We are ansh, we are a portion of that God. But that portion has the potential of attaining to the fullness of God. That is the beauty of it. Where that ansh is not separate from the full and has the potential to manifest in the fullness.
Just like the seeds of a tree, right? The seed is an ansh of the tree, right? It's a portion of the tree. But what is, when you break open a seed, you'll see nothing in it. But what is there in the seed? The potential to become the tree again, right? Similarly, a spark from a fire. What is the potentiality of the spark? It can become a fire given the right environment. Similarly, these ansh that we all have the potential to become divine again, given we have aspiration, all that Sampaji has told us, all those three things.
Om.